Hello and welcome back. In this video, I'm going to go over how to glue up the table that we've worked so hard on to get to fit together. We've fit the joinery, we've chopped button mortises, tapered the legs, and now comes the time to glue it up. We have dry fit it though. It's very important that it's dry fit prior to gluing. That way there's no surprises. I'm going to start by just blowing out the joints, making sure there's no debris or dust that might be caught in there. The next thing is I want to go ahead and lay out the parts in sequential order so that I'm not looking for one part at the last minute while the glue is drying. Let's see, we're going to take this and let's start with the A side, which is the front and the back. So here's 4A and 3A, that's the back. Of course, single mortise, and here's the other one, single mortise. Let's find the appropriate legs. Let's see, we've got 4A right here, and we've got, looking for 3A, which is right here. So that one goes there. And then we've got 2A and 1A. This is how it goes. I'm actually going to turn this like this. So 2A, 2A, 1A, 1A. Make sure your bench is clean, you've got plenty of room to work. Double check your layout here. 3A and 3A, 4A and 4A, and we're good to go. We've got glue, we've got popsicle sticks, and our assembly hammer. A rag here is helpful just to wipe any remainder glue that may be on your fingers or on the bench. I'm going to start by putting glue inside the mortise. If you'll note what I'm going to do here, I'm going to put glue up along the top edge and let gravity pull it down. So we've got the glue right up along the top edge. Then we'll come back with the popsicle stick and we'll smear the glue along the sides, right along the sides like that. Again, we're working on 1A. 1A here. I like to put glue on the tenon cheeks as well. So you can put the glue on there on both sides, coating all surfaces here. You don't necessarily have to put it on the end of the miter because they shouldn't be touching, but I say why not. Now we'll put it in there. What's going to happen here is the glue is going to squeeze out. Like I said in previous videos, I do tend to put probably a little too much glue, but I'd rather a little more glue than not enough. The glue's actually coming out here. I'm going to clean that up. What happens, being that these are through mortises, is that the glue oftentimes will run out. In that case, what we'll do is we'll just simply put it this way as opposed to this way. If I put it this way, the glue's all going to run out like this. If I put it this way, the glue will stay inside. Now we're going to work on 2A. Again, make sure, 2A, 2A. You've got to work fairly fast here, especially in a warm climate, because the glue will tend to set up fast. But you actually have more time if you coat both surfaces. If you only coat one surface, then you've really got to go fast. But two surfaces, that gives you a little bit more time. Use the assembly mallet here. Wipe the glue off of this side here. And then turn this down like this. What I'm going to do at this point is, again, I have this positioned where the mortises are facing up, but I do want to put the clamp on this side right here. One thing to keep in mind is you may consider putting some clamp pads on your clamps. You can use a piece of scrap wood. Here's a piece of rubber on there. The main reason for doing that is if there's a little roughness to the surface there, that will translate onto the wood and can damage the wood. This surface seems all right, so I'm just going to go ahead and clamp it up. There we have it. I have that fairly tight. It pulled up nicely. Let's look at the other side. It's good. Now, I could set it down like this, but again, the glue is going to want to run out, so let's put it up like that. Let's turn our attention towards this one. Sometimes I'll take the excess glue out of the bottom of the mortise and use that glue on the tenon cheek. I've got a little glue that has come off right there. I'm going to go ahead and just wipe that off and turn this over like that. Again, let's make sure that we do the right one. We're working on 3A. We'll put glue right there in 3A. And there as well. What I'll do is stand this up, make sure this is flush. This is a little bit below the surface, so we'll hit it down right there. Maybe a little bit more. Then we'll put a clamp on it. Again, I have the clamp perfectly in the center on the outside. Squeeze it up like this, nice and tight. It's good. Now you could leave this to dry if you wanted to, and then come back after it dries overnight or, in 3 or 4 hours and go ahead and clamp it the other way. The only downside, you've got to watch, because what you don't want is you don't want some glue that may have dribbled on the side there to be caught in there, and then you'd have to go and clean that out. For this, I'm going to go ahead and glue on these pieces. One thing that I've got to keep in mind, though, is you'll notice the clamps are actually squeezing the side in a little bit. So if I try to fit, well, let's try to fit 4B in there, you'll find that it won't fit. You'll actually find that it's too tight. So what I'm going to have to do before I actually fit that in there is loosen the clamp up a little bit. Let's go ahead and glue this up, but let's lay it out. 4B goes there, and let's see, 3B goes right here. So there we have it. Let's go ahead and put some glue inside those mortises, and we'll go ahead and clamp this table up. Just going to set that there temporarily. Turn our attention to this one. Now, let's loosen this up just a little bit, and that'll allow these pieces to be able to go in. Let's loosen it just a little bit more. And we might need a little persuasion with the hammer. I may even take it out of the clamp and just do it on the bench so that I'm not hitting against the edge of the clamp. Now I'll put it back in the clamp and tighten it up. Let's put glue in these. Make sure everything is level right here. This side's a little low, so I'll bring that up just a hair. And this side as well. Now I'll go ahead and apply the rest of the clamps. Now there's the issue of the glue. We've got a little excess glue on here, and I prefer not to wipe that off. If I wipe it off, I can smear it, and it's more difficult to remove later. Ideally, I would let it set up for maybe an hour or two until it gets a little rubbery, and then I could take a chisel and peel it off. If you're leaving this overnight, you may have to come back and chisel away the hard glue. I believe that's a little bit easier than trying to deal with the glue that's wiped off. One way you can do it is if you use a chisel now, you can actually take the chisel and scrape it along the surface. So I'm taking the chisel and just taking it like that, just scraping it along. I'm not introducing any water to thin the glue or anything like that. Especially important on the outside. You can see right there I've got quite a bit. We'll take that. Again, just getting the bulk of the glue off. As I mentioned, it might be better to wait. I usually like to wait about an hour or so. The glue will get a little rubbery. You notice one little problem here. We've got some glue running down the leg. Sometimes that'll happen, and I recommend that you actually flip this over so that the glue does not run down the leg. It actually runs down on the bench. If I don't get that glue off now, it may be difficult to get it off later. So let's get a scraper and we'll remove the glue. You can take a scraper. Again, I could wait till it gets a little rubbery, or I can take a scraper now and just take it like this and take it off. There's a little remnant of glue left, and the scraper works great for taking that little bit off. I think I'm going to let this excess glue sit for about an hour or so before I try to mess with it. Let it get a little rubbery. That concludes gluing up the table. We'll now move into gluing up the top, which will be edge jointing and edge gluing, so that we'll have a completed top for the table.